Concept 20, identifying and graphing using XY intercepts. We're talking about linear equations again. This time we're talking about a linear equation in a different form than what we've worked with before. This is called standard form of an equation, and it looks like this: ax plus by equals c. And that's where a, b, and c are constant values. X and y are variables. The x and y intercepts are simply the points where the graph of the line crosses the x and the y axis. So the first and easiest way is just to find the xy intercepts from a graph. So if you look at that first graph on your left, let's just circle the points where it's crossing the x and the y axis. So we have the point 3, 0, and the point 0, negative 6. Now notice I said 3, 0, because remember the first coordinate is the x and the second is the y. So to have a point right on the x-axis, I have the number 3 and then y has to be 0. And then the y-intercept is 0, 6. So this is what we call our x-intercept. That's where it is intercepting or crossing the x-axis. And this is our y-intercept. Now look at the second graph. And let's identify those 2 points here. So we've got the point right on the x-axis, 4, 0, and then right on the y-axis at 0, negative 2. So let's write that, 4, 0. And we know it's in that form because the number has to be the x value. So this is the x-intercept. And then the point 0, negative 2. So that is what we call the y-intercept. Then the third graph, let's identify. So we've got the y-intercept at, no, I'm sorry, that's the x-intercept at negative 1, 0. And then the y-intercept at 0, negative 2. So let's write those points. So we've got our x-intercept is at negative 2, 0, and we'll label that. And again, intercept means where it's crossing the x-axis, and our y-intercept is at 0, negative 2. And I realize that that point is actually negative 1, so we'll change that. That's just 1 over. And this is our y-intercept. So from the graph, this is just another important feature of a line is where it crosses the x and the y axis, and that's how you find it. Now, if we know the x and the y intercepts, we can then draw the line. So I have the x-intercept at negative 4, so I know that that's going to be negative 4, and since it's on the x-axis, it has to be 0. And then the y-intercept is at 3, so that's the point 0, 3. All you need is 2 points to make a line. So draw your point at negative 4, draw your point on the y-axis at 3, and then draw your line. Remember to put your arrows on both ends. So that is another way that you can draw a line when you know the x and the y intercepts. Sometimes we're not given the x and y intercepts. So if you look over at the example to the right, we have to work for them a little bit. So we have the equation 8x plus 4y equals 24. We can find the x and y intercepts and then graph that. This is just another way to graph an equation of a line. So remember, with our x-intercept, that's where it crosses the x-axis where y is 0. So you're going to let y equal 0 in the equation. So what I mean by that is you're going to write the equation 8x plus 4 times, but instead of y, you're going to plug in 0. And this will help us see what x is doing when that y value is zeroed out. So divide both sides by 8. You'll see x equals 3. So there's our first x-intercept at the point 3, 0. So we just had to work for it a little bit. Now the y-intercept is where x equals 0. So you're going to let x equals 0. So remember what that means is you write the equation, so 8, but instead of x, put in 0 plus 4y equals 24. And now you'll be able to see what y is doing when x is 0. Divide both sides by 4, so y equals 6. So now we have the point 0, 6. So let's plot both of those points. So here goes 3, 0, right on the x-axis. Here is 0, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then draw your line, because you only need 2 points to draw a line. And I'll try to hit my points. It is not easy to graph a straight line on this. Let's practice finding the x and y intercepts with another equation. So we have 2x plus 8y equals 24. We'll use that same method that we just did to find the x-intercept. We will let y equal 0. So it's just the opposite. 2x plus 8 times 0 equals 24. So 2x equals 24 because 8 times 0 is 0. Divide both sides by 2. Let's clean this up a little bit. So x equals 12. So we have the point 0, 12. Now to find the y-intercept, let's let x equal 0. So we'll have the equation 2 times 0 plus 8y equals 24. This way we can see what y is doing when x is 0. So 8y equals 24. Divide both sides by 8, so y equals 3. So we've got the point 0, 3. So now we have our y and our x-intercept, although I don't think this is written right. So let's try that again. Our x-intercept is 12, 0. You probably saw that mistake. Now let's try another one. So we got the equation negative 3x plus 5y equals negative 15. So the first thing we want to do is find our x-intercept, and we'll do that by letting y equal 0. So we're just practicing this process. So negative 3x plus 5 times 0 equals negative 15. Negative 3x equals negative 15. Divide both sides by negative 3 and you'll get positive 5. So we have the point 5, 0. Alright, I switched colors. Now let's do the y-intercept by letting x equal 0. So in our equation we'll have negative 3 times 0 plus 5y equals negative 15. Negative 3 times 0 is 0. 5y equals negative 15. Divide both sides by negative 15, so y equals negative 3. And write this as the point 0, negative 3. And you have found, and we found, the y and the x-intercept. Let's try another graphing problem. So we've got the equation x plus 2y equals 4. Remember, this is an equation of a line in standard form. So to find the x-intercept, we'll start by letting y equal 0. So x plus 2 times 0 equals 4. X equals 4. So there's our first point, 4, 0. Now for our y-intercept, let's let x equal 0. So 0 plus 2y equals 4. Divide both sides by 2, so y equals 2. So we have the point 0, 2. Now let's plot those points. So 4, 0, 0, 2. So at the origin, up, and just draw a straight mark. And that's, again, just practicing how to graph using the x and the y intercepts. Now pause the video and do the independent practice problems, and then come back to check your work. Alright, on number 1, To find the x and the y-intercepts, we do the same process. Let y equal 0. You'll solve and get x equals 3, so you have the point 3, 0. Then let x equal 0 to find the y-intercept. Solve, and you'll see that y equals negative 2. So you should have got the point 0, negative 2. On number 2, you can use those x and y-intercepts that they tell you to plot and then draw the line. Remember, an x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis, so it's the point negative 5, 0, and the y-intercept is 0, 4. Plot those points and draw your line. And then finally, we've got on number 3, the x-intercept of 4, 0, so let's plot that, and then the y-intercept of 0, 2. So 0, 2. And then let's just draw that line. And there's the graph of 4y plus 2x equals 8. Now you're ready to practice this concept and do your homework assignment.